Nothing good comes out of easy. The best stuff comes out of pain. I have known people to come out of plays, tears running down their eyes. There was a moment in that play, a line, a sequence, a scene, a performance that got inside their heart and either broke it or blew it apart. Theater does change you. It changes the way you think. It changes the way you believe. It changes the way you honestly feel. The movies can do that. Music can do that. The arts do that. But there's something about being in that theater with a crowd of other people, with live performers delivering lines. You forget yourself, and for the first time maybe in your life, you really listen.
What has to happen in a person's life for them to become a critic, anyway?
Contempt for humanity, an inability to love and be loved.
Am I crazy or was that good? You're crazy.
Insatiable ambition and talent.
That was my last word.
Hated it.
The last word.
You risk nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing.
How could it be popular?
I'm gonna kill your play.
When I was doing theater, especially in the early 90s, as a performer, theater reviews were part of the industry.
Everyone posted them. You know, everyone talked about them.
When that review came out, everyone would run to get a paper, and you had to go get it. You didn't, you couldn't, just log online.
When I became a theater critic in 91, 92, there were 7 of us, and this is what we did for a living.
So you had Robert Pala of Phoenix New Times, Max McQueen of the East Valley Tribune.
Robert Pala, Max McQueen.
Kyle Lawson at the Arizona Republic.
There were more than just the 3 of them, but those were the big 3 ones at the time.
Kyle was one of the reviewers.
He was sort of the big theater critic in town at the newspaper.
Back in the day when newspapers were king.
Back in the day we had this thing called a newspaper. And
he was probably the most widely read theater critic in Arizona.
We all knew, everyone in the industry knew when Kyle showed up to see a show. It was like, oh, Kyle's here right now, and everyone backstage freaks out.
If you were a theater critic back then, you were in a theater practically every night.
There was this amazing era where theater was vibrant and lively and exciting.
It was thriving theater town. It was almost as much as Chicago. I mean, it was insane.
There were so many companies and so many great shows.
And then there were always these little alternative theaters that were popping up in bombed out buildings.
My friends in LA would make fun of me. They said, what are you doing in the desert? And I was saying, I'm working more than I've ever worked in my life.
When I started writing about theater in Phoenix, I thought I need to cultivate a readership of people who don't care about theater. So I started writing about theater in a very particular way, with a very particular kind of voice.
With the different personalities, you kind of knew what you were going to get.
Max McQueen loved anything. Robert Pala hated everything.
There's a technical term for that. It's called being voicey.
And Kyle sort of occupied that space in the middle.
This was someone who dedicated their life to be an expert. So when you read a review, you took it as gospel.
I called him Burns Mantle, who was a very old theater critic.
I loved it. So what? You also loved World War II.
And Kyle called me Addison DeWitt, who was a fictional theater critic.
That I should want you at all suddenly strikes me as the height of improbability.
We got some bad reviews from Kyle.
A matter of opinion, granted.
It was always constructive.
And he wouldn't take personal shots.
He was never mean or cruel about it. Ever.
People don't necessarily understand that a theater critic is not there to publicize a play. We're not publicists. We're not flacks.
No, no, no!
He thought I should lower the bar. And I always raised the bar because I thought these are theater professionals.
Please, please.
And, from there came this horrible reputation.
Kyle was capable of reviewing a show that he did not like without making somebody cry.
Frankly, sorry, Robert Pala. He was the opposite of bitchy queen. He was kind.
You don't usually put
Kind and Critic together, but he pulled it off.
And that doesn't mean that he didn't give bad reviews.
He wanted everybody to succeed. He would let you know when you didn't, but it was all gently, yeah.
Kyle was proof that you could have high standards and still be kind.
As opposed to, let me get out my knife and carve this sucker up.
I'm sure I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know that I think that his greatest value to theater companies was the reviews that he wrote.
He was a cheerleader for theater in general.
I mean, a lot of people say he was a cheerleader for theater.
Like, he just was such a huge supporter.
Champion.
Yeah, champion.
Kyle was always an advocate.
He was such a great supporter and lover of theater.
He made it clear, I'm not a theater critic. I'm writing about these people. I'm being their advocate.
He was proselytizing for the arts. I think that what he was trying to do is tell what at that point was not the 5th largest city in the nation, that the arts were here, they were good, and they were for everyone.
I was raised by a grandmother who was very classically orientated. By my 5th grade, I could quote you Titus Andronicus, which terrified my teachers. I grew up in a very conservative Southern family, Hardshell Baptist Church, if any of you know what that is. That's kind of like the fascist wing of the Southern Baptist. I had a really difficult time accepting the world as it is. Theater opened my eyes to so many prejudices that I grew up with in my life that I didn't even know I had, that I would have told you I'm not prejudiced. Going to theater, sitting in a play by August Wilson, sitting in a play by Lanford Wilson, sitting in The Normal Heart, I realized that I had to change.
A 1, a 2, you know what to do.
Kyle Lawson.
He was someone who was not afraid to
We used to have lunch.
Become acquainted with the theater folks.
We would have lunch together.
I would just call them the Kyle lunches.
I would run into him downtown. He'd say, I'm going to lunch, come with me.
We would meet always downtown near the Herberger.
Kyle liked to have lunch at the Compass Room.
At the Hyatt.
And I liked that the Arizona Republic was paying for my French onion soup.
He was our mentor. He was our rock.
My 3rd day at Black Theater Troupe, he sat me down and he said, this is what Brenda did. This is what Brenda and I used to talk about.
I remember when I got the job in New York and I was terrified, and we had like our last lunch together, and he filled me with confidence.
He realized that the succession from one leader to the next leader can be very, very rocky.
If it wasn't for him, I don't know if I could have done New York, actually, because he believed in me when I didn't believe in myself.
We continued to have our luncheons.
We had a lot of lunches.
Each one of those luncheons were 90% helping me find my groove and 10% for the newspaper. Now, I probably shouldn't say that because it was on an expense account, but...
He would read my column every week, and he would sometimes call me and say, really? I'd say, yes, really. Doesn't the Arizona Republic want to buy me a bowl of soup so that we can talk about this in person?
All right, boys. You done seen the rest.
When August Wilson came to town,
he's one of the most acclaimed playwrights of our time.
This was the first time I had ever met someone on a national platform.
As well as one of the most popular.
One of the reasons that I was able to ask August Wilson very good questions at this luncheon was because Kyle had prompted me. It resulted in a beautiful article in the paper, but the method to getting there was quintessentially Kyle Lawson.
Hello, everybody. Before I say anything, I would just like to make one thing clear. I am a fanboy of ATC, so whatever I say is said out of true affection for the company. In the late 70s, when I came, it was virtually a community of amateurs. And it was not really until the arrival of ATC that we began to get a new vision for professional theater here. After you did a play called How I Learned to Drive, I spent at least 2 weeks dealing with readers who for the first time spoke out about abuse. When you did a play called Wit, I had cancer survivors write me. I cannot tell you the impact it had on them, the closing moments of that play. After ATC came Actors Lab, came Actors Theater, came In Mixed Company, came the ariZoni Jewish Theater.
And the Jewish Theater, and
Actors Lab.
God, and Actors Lab, and all those great places that I worked.
There was no dog-eat-dog kind of competition.
You would open your program and you would look at the cast list and it would be Kathy Fitzgerald or
people like Kathy Fitzgerald, people like Robin Ferricane.
Robin Ferricane or Rusty Ferricane.
People like Rusty Ferricane.
Or Bob Sorensen or John Sankovich.
He was sort of this champion of trying to get the local actors out there.
My friends like Katie McFadden and John Gentry and who's that cute little bunny, Deborah.
Hi, I'm Deborah K. Stevens.
Kyle gave me a lot of visibility, and as a person of color, that was kind of special here in Phoenix.
He was able to kind of take that kind of style of sharing that is used all the time in sports, all the time in politics, you know, and apply it to the arts.
He gave me an unofficial title and dubbed me the Prince of Indie Musicals.
Ooh, wow.
So we weren't just talking about like Beethoven or Shakespeare, we were talking about living, breathing people who could be next door neighbors.
I will let you see.
Oh my God.
You may not laugh.
Okay, like not to your face. I can't laugh to your face. My name is Bob Sorensen, and I was a theater student at ASU, and after I got out of ASU, I met Kyle Lawson shortly thereafter and became part of his quest to promote theater.
No way.
I tell lies for a living, but I would never lie to you. Oh, look at this. I love this. Look at this. Lean Mean.
Oh my gosh.
Look at this.
Wow.
That's a wedding party. They clearly got the 20 tuxedo discount. He came to several of us at the time and said, I not only want to promote theater, but I would like to create a bit of a local star system. In other words, try to give notoriety to the performers. And he did.
Kyle would just battle to get continuing coverage.
He wanted to come out and spend an entire day at our theater and write a piece about a day in the life of Mill Avenue Theater.
He would argue and fight with his editors for more space.
That he was able to persuade the paper that this was newsworthy, I cannot imagine anyone doing that today.
Kyle, you know, could write an 800-word fluff piece about how Kathy Fitzgerald's coming back to town and she's going to do a walk-on in her friend's play or whatever the story was. And I would have gotten fired if I'd written something like that.
He loved theater.
Oh boy, did he.
He even liked the little dinner theaters.
Well, come on, let's get rehearsed. Time's a waste. A 1, a 2, a you know what to do.
When we were in Grand Island, Nebraska, which is where we met, he did some directing at the local Catholic high school and working with those kids. He loved that.
I think he saw himself as not only a journalist, but an educator.
Yeah. And I think it was because he saw theater as a way to say things to people that you couldn't say.
Oh, you hear me talking to ya. I don't bite my tongue.
Theater saved him. He was raised in his stepfather. His stepfather and mother were very negative people, and he, because of that, tried always to see the positive side. He didn't want to talk about it, and so I didn't push it. They were very fundamentalist, it's the first time I ever ran into truly bigoted people.
Yeah.
And he got involved in theater, which sent his family through the roof.
I trained in theater and got into journalism purely by accident, but found I really liked it because it let me use the writing gift that I had, such as it was. There were times when I went to Phoenix Little Theater and there were almost more oxygen machines along the side of the wall than there were people in the seats. It had to do something to get younger people in because right in front of its eyes, its audience was dying. I sit in audiences and I realize I'm the norm. I'm 72 years old and there's more of me there than there are of younger people. We have got to think about the audiences of 2020 and 2030. And that's going to be a different world. And the arts are going to have to reinvent themselves for that world. My world, the world of newspapers and radio coverage, will be gone soon. But there's a new world out there.
He really is the embodiment to me of an era when reviewers meant something.
He had a platform.
It was professional advice.
That I don't believe exists at all anymore.
We didn't have Facebook or TikTok, and it wasn't wisdom of the crowd.
There's so many magnificent distractions now.
This was a time when there actually was mass media, and so the things that he wrote really carried.
It's such a different landscape, you know, with social media, and that you didn't have a centralized authority.
The newspapers crashed in the early 2000s. And I think leading up to that was maybe one of their high points. Like, you know, they were doing really good. And then the world changed.
That era has passed. The theater scene is so different now.
A lot of companies since then have closed and gone away.
And it was one by one I watched them close. You know, it was like, wow, how is this happening?
There's less of everything now. There's less quality. There's less reason to go to the theater. There are fewer people working.
You know, in Kyle's day, he was thriving. And I don't know, was he part of it? I think he was.
I don't want to sentimentalize it and say it was wonderful and then it died because all the good stuff goes away. But, you know, sometimes it feels that way.
Without his contribution to the art scene, I don't think the theater scene in Arizona would have been what it was.
He believed in the talent here in Phoenix. And he didn't just write about it. He went to other theaters and said, you should look at local talent. And he kept pushing. He didn't give up.
He got it out there. He got shows out there. He got it in the paper. He got it out there.
He made you go buy a paper. He did.
And he retires and he creates this website that is all about the history of theater in Phoenix that he was, you know, a part of.
And he created profiles for scads and scads and scads of local people that were beautifully written.
Even though I'm not writing every day, I still want to celebrate these people.
I mean, think about that. I just think that's so, again, generous. It's such a generous thing to do to still be the cheerleader.
I like that last number. What did you like about it? It was the last number.
But I don't think theater will die. Criticism is dying. Critical thinking is going away.
The rise of the internet has also been like the rise of like amateur everything.
Finally, we've seen him do a good show. Good. Can we please stop coming now? No!
Criticism is being replaced by influencers who are being paid by the folks to talk about the product.
This show is awful. Terrible. Disgusting. See you next week? Of course.
And I don't have a polite word for that.
We have stopped the critical journalistic profession trying to teach people the value of culture and the value of what theater has to offer. Every play has got to be the only play you do. It's got to be as perfect as you can make it, cast as well as you can cast it, dressed as well as you can dress it. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be a spectacle. It can be a two-character play with a bench. But that bench has to be well made, I always like to say, and the actors sitting on that bench better be damn good. You can't sell mediocrity. Not anymore. There's too much out there. That's not what you're in business for. That's not what you're there for. That's not what you owe the world. Now, maybe I'm sounding pretentious there, but over the years, I have come to believe so strongly in theater. I believe that we're here for a reason, and that reason is to change the world. You know, we can make a difference. Now, we can only make a difference in 150 people a night or however many sits in a theater. Wouldn't you rather make a difference in one person's life than none?
Now let's do the trash version.
Kyle is the Christ and Pale is the Antichrist.
Still recording up there, so.
There are two types of critics. There is the surgeon
It's raw.
It's good.
It's raw.
And then there's a mortician poking it with a stick to see if it's dead yet.
I did dress up as a chicken. I did.
We got to sit in on the final rehearsal with Sondheim and
Oh my gosh.
the original cast.
He had a huge crush on Annette Funicello.
He said, to make it official, you have to go as my photographer for the Phoenix Gazette.
And his favorite ABBA song was Gimme, 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 A Man After Midnight.
I took the worst pictures imaginable, of course, with, lamp posts coming out of the top of their heads.
And the podiatrist says, gosh, Mr. Moth, that sounds horrible, but I'm a podiatrist. It sounds like you need to see a psychiatrist. What brought you in here? And the Moth says, well, the light was on.